There's always been something strange about where I live. It's not the isolation or the frequent, unseasonal climate, but something more ominously dreadful. I live in a remote cottage on a mountain on the eastern seaboard. Personally, I enjoy the isolation, having purchased the only residence on this particular mountain from its base to its summit for that specific reason. The road that ascends up through its forest, leading to my abode, is windy and often enough treacherous, especially in winter months. This dirt drive of sorts extends past my home and further up the mountainside, turning to more of a dirt path once beyond my little cottage. This path leads to a summit that outstretches past the underlying landscape in the most peculiar way, like that of the tip of an ice cream cone, and more nights than not, a chanting can just barely be discerned as it makes its way through the trees of that midnight pitched forest on the most still of nights. The chanting is so drowned out by the thick trunks and distance, it's more or less reminiscent of a whisper. For the longest time, I chalked up these instances to nothing more than the fantastical machinations of a mind ripe with imaginations fueled by isolation. Yesterday, during the brightest hours of daylight, my safety less assured and more personally contrived, I made my way up that mountainside to the summit via that dark path that proceeded beyond the drive to my house. I had walked this uphill distance a few times, but with little to no reason to venture so far, other than curiosity or exploration. These trips were few and far between, and limited in number. I had never seen anything strange or even curious, but these whispering chants had not been present then. As I progressed towards the top, I did notice the presence of footsteps in the dirt on the trail. Various shoe prints of differing sizes and designs, all of them surely human. But there were other impressions in the earth as well, shapes I did not recognize as any footprint I had ever seen. I took note, of course, as I trekked onward, but my thoughts lingered about those triple claw-like prints in the earth and what could have possibly have made them. It wasn't until I reached the summit that these thoughts went to the wayside in favor of something more instantaneously dreadful and aberrant. I couldn't believe what my eyes were showing me, what my mind was attempting to interpret. 6 statues, all over 10 feet tall, encircling a great pit in the forest clearing at the very top of the mountain. Each statue was identical to the next. An odd-looking being with crab-like claws for hands, a humanoid torso, dragon-like taloned feet, huge bat-like wings exuding from their backs, and a terrible, squid-like face. Set within each of these faces were 2 golden, gleaming, cat-like eyes. The pit they encircled must have been at least 20 feet in diameter and 6 feet deep at its edges, and maybe only 3 feet deep at its center, raising upwards in the middle, in a slope, like that of a convex mirror. The dirt within was smooth, except for a seam of earth that stretched from one side to the other across its center. I had not seen this here before the last time I had ventured to this remote location, so obviously I was more than intrigued to find out more. Well, tonight I did just that, though I wish I hadn't. I feel as though I might go mad at the thought at what I had just witnessed. Tonight, I heard that whispered chanting through the trees behind my home and decided to head back to the summit and glean more information. As I trekked, The whispers became louder, crescendoing to that of a purposeful, guttural chanting. Carefully and quietly, I reached the clearing. And even now, I can't unsee what I saw, unable to scrub it from recollection. A conglomeration of beings dressed in what looked like ceremonial robes of black trimmed with red. Some of the forms hidden by these robes took shapes too obscure to be mimicked by humans. Each chanting words in unison, much of it English dialect, yet some I did not understand and had never heard before. Yugarath, Throtep, Sothoth, and others. Then, as the chanting reached its climax, it happened. Their purpose is revealed, and I made haste in absconding, getting to my vehicle and leaving that dreadful place behind me while I still could. The mountain shook like a quake as I drove from the foot of it, quake-like. But I knew better. I knew that no matter how far I drove, that the end was here. For all of us. Not being able to shake that final image of the event that played out before me. For when I stared into it, I felt I knew the true and terrible fate of all things. The premonitions that reverberated through me when that crease stretching the length of that pit spread open to the hole's circumference, revealing what lay in the earth in wait. An enormous, cat-like, terrible, golden eye.